Hello cinephiles, movie buffs, and TV aficionados, former film student back with another video. The first one in a hot minute. Unless you count my podcast episodes, which if you are unaware, I do a podcast with my good friend Josh called Franchise Deep Dive. We upload every other Tuesday here on this YouTube channel as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts under the Franchise Deep Dive name. We discuss different movie franchises from Harry Potter to The Matrix to Twilight, all the best and worst franchises. So definitely give us a follow over on those previously mentioned platforms if that sounds up your alley, and stay tuned on this channel for more episodes. I also have a playlist here on this channel with all the episodes, so definitely check it out. With that aside, I haven't made a video in a while, mainly because I've been a little bit busy. I don't really make any money off this channel, and I do work a full-time manual labor job, so I've just been a bit burnt out.
I'm tired, boss.
However, I have seen a couple of new 2025 releases, and one in particular I saw recently that felt like a film I needed to make a video on. Bringing us to the topic of today's video, and that is of course the brand new horror film Bring Her Back, the directorial follow-up to the filmmakers who brought us Talk to Me, which was an excellent film from 2022, one of my favorites of that year, and an incredibly impressive directorial debut from brothers Danny and Michael Phillipou. There was so much creativity in that film, from the directing choices to the way it was edited to the cinematography and sound design. You would have guessed it was their fifth or sixth feature. Well, here we are 3 years later, and they may have topped themselves with Bring Her Back. Despite my love for Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which I absolutely adored, the one thing that I felt the film was lacking was a true horror atmosphere. While I loved a lot of the direction and characters, and especially how music was not only used in the film but was implemented into the plot, I did leave the theater wishing that it had a bit more edge and true horror to it. Well, that is what Bring Her Back delivers tenfold on. While there have been a couple of disturbing and downright unsettling films in recent years, it's hard to put any of them in the same tier as Bring Her Back. Similar to the directing duos previously mentioned Talk to Me, the film deals with grief and trauma but explores it from a much different perspective. Wherein Talk to Me explores loss from the perspective of a child, Bring Her Back focuses on the parent side of things. Without spoiling too much of the film's plot, I will say in as vague a way as possible, the film expertly showcases the lengths and depths a parent will go to after they lose a child to ease that pain, which bakes in a layer of horror in and of itself. But outside of the stellar writing and a fantastic performance from Sally Hawkins, the filmmaking is the real star of the show here, as the Phillipou brothers managed to transfer over all of the elements that made Talk to Me great into this film, but in a more elevated and experienced way. From the way that shots are framed and how the camera moves in such a fluid and methodical way, to the way actors are staged and blocked, every scene is dripping with dreary atmosphere. The creative decisions feel so purposeful and filled with intent. And perhaps the best aspect of the film is the sound design. This is where the film nerd in me starts squeaking its way out, because without being dramatic, there are certain scenes in the film that have stuck with me for days. Not just because of how graphic and downright disturbing they are. Side note, if you're someone who hates how so many mainstream horror films feel too sanitized and pull their punches, Bring Her Back does not do any of that in the slightest. When it wants to go for it, it really goes for it. But the scenes stuck with me because of how creatively and effectively the sound design is utilized in this film. It doesn't just allow the visuals to horrify and disturb the audience, but puts a very clear emphasis on utilizing extremely unsettling and visceral sounds to aid the scares. Again, without spoiling too much, there is a scene in this film involving a knife that will forever be etched in my brain and stands out as one of the most disturbing scenes I've seen in a horror film in many, many years. And when I say disturbing, a word I've already used multiple times in this video, I don't mean in the schlocky, over-the-top way that a series like the Terrifier films do. I mean genuinely stomach-churning horror. This is almost everything I want out of a horror film experience. It's got great characters loaded with depth, it has a strong script with great themes that are explored extremely well, and on top of just being incredibly well crafted from all technical standpoints, it does the thing that so many mainstream horror films are too afraid to do, and that's be scary. I don't mean that in a throwing shade kind of way, but too many mainstream horror films, I'm looking at you Blumhouse, are too afraid to push the envelope. It almost seems like they want the scares to be short-lived, where you're frightened for a few seconds but then laugh it off and go, oh, that was kind of spooky. Whereas a film like Bring Her Back genuinely serves to make your skin crawl in all of the best ways. Not just to shock you, as mentioned, there is plenty of substance in the film, but to actually frighten you, and using its visuals and sound to create horror that sticks with you long after you're done watching the movie. All I can say is well done, Phillipou brothers, and I cannot wait to check out whatever they bring us next. Until then, if you are a horror fan, I cannot recommend checking this film out enough. If you can see it while it's in a theater, I think that would be great, but either way, I hope you guys get a chance to see this new film, as I genuinely loved it. Well, that is it for today. If you liked this video, make sure to click the like button, subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and of course, I will see you guys on the next video.